Are you ready to become awesomer? Hello, everyone. My name is Umar Hamid. I'm your host on the No Limit Selling podcast, where industry leaders share their tips, strategy, and advice on how you can become better, stronger, faster. Just before we get started, I've got a question for you. Do you have a negative voice inside your head? We all do, right? I'm going to help you remove that voice in under 30 days guaranteed. Not only remove it, but transform it. So instead of the voice that sabotages you, there's one that propels you to much higher levels of performance and success. There's a link in the show notes. Click on it to find out more. All right, let's get started. Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the No Limit Selling podcast. Today we have Lou Belisario with us today from Brooklyn, baby. Welcome to the show.
Good. What's happening? Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
You know, I'm here in Toronto right now, and we were just talking about, I was talking about Brooklyn. It was like you can go to any pizza joint in Brooklyn and get a great slice. And in Toronto, you have to go find a great pizza place. Like the others will be okay. And so that's one of the blessings of being in Brooklyn.
Pizza, bagels, all types of good food. We have a big roast beef thing here too. There's a lot of different good roast beef spots. But yeah, pizza's great, man. The best pizzeria in the entire world is here. So we get to enjoy that. Lucali's.
Absolutely. So how long you been in the real estate biz?
18 years.
18 years. And do you have a team?
I have the largest team at Compass in the United States of America.
Wow. How many people?
About 40.
40. Nice. So what's kind of interesting is, you know, most realtors, of course, start off on their own. So either join a team to kind of learn the ropes or go solo. And then at some point they transition into getting a team together. Mm-hmm. So let's talk about you. When did you start and how did you start?
I got my license when I was about 19 years old. I was in college. I was playing baseball in college, and I decided that I wasn't going to make the majors. So I said I'd like to get a job. I didn't see myself being a 9-to-5 person, jumping on the train and going to the city every day instead of behind a desk. My family has been in the real estate business in Brooklyn for about 50 years, give or take. So at the time, I just kind of followed in their footsteps. My grandfather, my uncle, my cousins, and I got my real estate license, and I haven't turned back since. So it was probably about 2006, I guess. And went through every market cycle since then, and that's how you kind of make your bones in the world. But yeah, I don't think I'm qualified to do anything else at this point, so I guess I'm stuck with this forever.
There you go. And did you go solo or did you join a team when you first started?
Well, when I first started, teams really weren't a thing, to be honest with you. Teams are a relatively newer thing in real estate. So back in the mid-2000s, I just joined an office. That's what it was. So at the time, I joined Fillmore Real Estate, which was the largest privately owned real estate broker in New York City. That was a company that my family had started in 1966. So I joined an office in the neighborhood I grew up in, and I just started from scratch, calling expireds, calling FSBOs, and working buyers and all that stuff. And then as time went on, I kind of wanted to branch out into different parts of Brooklyn. So I was promoted to manager of one of the offices that we had in Fort Greene, which is in downtown Brooklyn near the Barclays Center. The Barclays Center wasn't even there yet, to be honest with you. And that's it. And then the rest is history. And then about 5 years ago, I decided to do my own thing and branch out of Fillmore and, let them do their thing. And I wanted to go ahead and do my thing. And I started the Belisario team at Compass back then. And as the years progressed, I made, good friends with my partner, now Joe Cruz and Jeff Rangach. Mm-hmm. Decided to create a mega team together. So we have 3 principals and about 40 agents, and that's growing every week. And that's about it.
All right. So let's go back to early part of your career. At some point along that journey, nothing ever comes easily. So there must have been some tough times. Sure. When did you doubt yourself? Like, am I doing the right thing? Did that ever happen?
It happens all the time. It happens today still.
Yeah.
So, but back then I remember one night in particular. It's probably it's got to be like 2012, 2013, something like that. Within 10 years ago. I was with my girlfriend, who's now my wife, and we was in our apartment that we were sharing. And I remember pacing back and forth, like, you know what? I don't think I can do this anymore. It's just too much stress. It's too much anguish. It's too much deals are dying and personalities you have to deal with every day. And, am I getting paid enough money for what I do? And all the things and doubts that you have about yourself. And I had taken my firefighter exam not that long before that. And I was basically called to do that. And I said, maybe it's an option. And I chose not to do it. And I stuck with real estate. And it was definitely the best decision I ever made. But, doubting yourself is a human thing in
Yeah,
general.
for everybody. So, and tell me about when you first started, the first year or two, where all of a sudden it kind of felt like, hey, this is it for me. Like it might have been when you were doing a deal. Like, did you have one of those moments as well when you first got validation that, hey, I could do this, I could make money at this?
Yeah, I mean, in my first year in the business, I probably did like 6 or 7 deals. I think it really hit home when I was able to get my first listing because I felt accomplished. So more than a paycheck, it was the sense of accomplishment of getting your first listing. So I think once I was able to break that barrier, from there, I had confidence in myself and in the business, and that's really it.
Brilliant. So as you lead this team, of course, people that you're leading have those days where it's like they doubt themselves.
Yep.
Go into a room of 100 people and ask them, who has a negative voice inside your head. People with multiple personalities will make it like 105 people will say, yep, that happens to me. So how do you coach people through those doubts? Like, how do you get them to inoculize them from their own worst enemy, which is sometimes themselves?
I always try to be relatable to people and make sure that they could be relatable to me. So I'm at a relatively high point in my career, and I've gone through it. So if I'm able to sit there and be relatable and say, "Hey, listen, I've been through the same thing you're going through right now. You'll get past it. You'll get through it." That's the usual take that I'll do. And it's very true and it's genuine because it's true. So that's the angle I normally take. Is just say, "I've been there. Here's how I got through it." Hopefully my advice helps you get through it. I try to be more of a mentor on my team, not a boss or a team leader or anything like that. I want to be a mentor. I want to be somebody who could help the people on my team accomplish their goals.
So why don't we play a game? And the game we're going to play is how do we get realtors to be really successful? And I'm going to get you to kick it off with, hey, realtors should know this, do this. And I'm going to offer my number 2 and you'll go number 3. And let's keep going till we run out of valuable information for our listeners to
Sure.
glean from.
I think that the biggest thing a realtor should be is organized. So I think organization is a big, a lot of people lack it. Even me, I lack it also. But if I could be better at something, it would be organization. And if you could get a head start on being organized in your business, I think you'll be good.
Absolutely. I think number 1, that's like a critical thing. I'm going to cheat and kind of go off your answer and go time management, which goes hand in hand
Mm-hmm.
with that. And I think just read it, dear listeners, read this book, Getting Things Done. Is like such a useful tool to be organized. And one of the things they do is you have task lists, and I've got tasks for at home. So if it's stuff for home, I can jot it down there. So on the way home, I look at that list and go, oh, I need to pick up bread, or I need to do this.
Mm-hmm.
Stuff for work, stuff in front of the computer. And those 8 hours that you'll listen to the audiobook will save you a long, painful existence in this industry or any other. So number 3 to you, my friend.
Well, then I'll shoot off you a little bit if we're going to go that route, and I'll say The Secret. Right. So this is it's a very popular. It's not a secret per se.
It's not a well-kept secret.
Right. But I'll tell you, that was something that I definitely believed in, and it's very cliche in real estate to tell people to watch this or listen to it, but to me, it works. And if you believe in yourself and you put good out there, good will come back. And it's a business that you could very easily give up on very quickly. Right. And in real estate, you need a short-term memory. Right. So a short-term memory, just like baseball. Right. So if Mariano Rivera goes on the mound, blows the World Series in 2001 like he did, and he gave up and said, I'll never do it again, he'd never be the best closer of all time. He forgets about it, and all that matters is the next game. So, watch The Secret, read The Secret, believe in The Secret, put good out there, have a short-term memory.
Brilliant. So you said 2 things there. So good for going above and beyond, because I think they're 2 different things. But just going to The Secret for a moment, I often advise clients to have affirmations, and here's why I do it. It's not so much for the secret intention of setting it out there, but what I'm looking for is when I say, women find me attractive, and then that voice comes up and says, who are you kidding? That's what I'm looking for, is that negative reaction, because that negative reaction is a thread that goes down to a belief within us.
Sure.
And once we figure out what that belief is, we can change it. So sometimes using affirmations to get that negative reaction uncovers an unconscious belief that's stopping you from being awesome, baby.
I like that. I would say next, and this is why my voice is raspy right now, and this is why my eyes are baggy right now, networking. So networking is a big thing in real estate. Um, we just went, my entire team, we took a bus out to an event last night in Long Island with a bunch of Long Island real estate brokers and bankers and trying to drum up some business. Networking, I could say, is one of the things that changed the trajectory of my career.
Nice.
It's a very easy thing to do. And they're very plentiful. So there's always networking events in New York City or big cities. They're all over the place, right? So you can always go out there and meet somebody. You never know where your next deal is going to come from. So meeting and associating yourself with as many professionals as you possibly can should help your career grow as well.
Absolutely. So I'm going to add a little bit to that before I go to kind of my one. Here's a question for you, Lou. What's the difference between networking and not working? One letter. And I think networking is critical, but you really need to have a plan when you go to network.
Absolutely.
And you need to have follow up, follow up, follow up, follow up. If you don't have a process, you're just going to be lost and waste time. And here's a tip: no matter where you go, whether it's networking or somewhere else, or let's say a dinner party, one of the things I ask when I go networking is, who am I here to meet today? And I look at everybody there, and somebody just seems to be a little brighter than everyone else. And I go, before I leave this, I am going to visit with that person. And I was at this conference with about 700 people, and there was this woman who happened to be really cute. And that wasn't the reason she stood out. Something about her kind of glowed. And so I said, I'm going to meet this woman before I leave. And at the lunch break, she was bringing food back from the buffet. And I said, oh, why don't you stay here at one of the high top tables? I'm going to get my food. I'd love to chat with you. And this was her story for the podcast. It's a previous episode, and we'll put the link down below. She was minding her own business at home with her son and her husband, and the phone rings, and her 18-year-old daughter, who's at university, an athlete, apparently there's some kind of medical emergency, and it's like, something's happened with your daughter. I just wanted to let you know. You should come to the hospital. We're taking her there. And by the time she's getting ready, panicked, it's a 2-hour drive, she gets a call from the dean saying your daughter has passed.
Oh my God.
And it turned out that she had a cardiac arrest at university, but they had no device to defibrillate it to bring her back. And so she started the foundation and changed the law in Pennsylvania to actually make sure that every university, every high school in a gymnasium has that. And that's a good example of just who am I here to meet? And you'll meet the most amazing people.
100%.
So here is my advice to realtors. The best version of you is you, the most authentic you. And most people think I need to create this persona of this is what an agent is. Hi, how are you? I'm an agent. And they get a sense of who they are. But there's a third spot, which is their authentic self. And once you discover who you are, then you have power, you have foundation. Then you don't have this delusion of who you are. You know who you are. And when you have enough confidence, this is what you show the outside world. And this is where clients kind of go, I'm not sure what it is about you, Lou, but I just feel comfortable being near you. And I want you to be my agent. So it helps you in real estate, and it also helps you in life.
100%, man. I couldn't agree more with that. I would say you got to be persistent in real estate. So persistency is key in this business. If you're not being persistent, you mentioned follow up earlier with whoever you come in contact with, whether that be through networking or through farming or whatever it may be. Persistence is key. And I look around my team and I pinpoint the people who are the most successful. And the most successful people that I've whether managed or had on my team really in all my years are the ones who are the most persistent with follow up. And I could piggyback that word with consistency also. So
Yeah,
consistent and consistent, two completely different things. But if you're able to group those two things together, you will be very successful in this business. And I think a lot of brokers, a lot of agents drop the ball with that tremendously.
absolutely.
Always.
And I'll kind of add to that. I was training a team in Baltimore, Maryland, and one of the guys had finally closed a deal. And so the team leader said, yeah, how many times did you have to reach out? And he said 21 times.
Mm-hmm.
And everyone was like, oh my God, because there's agents have this sense of I'm being a pest.
Yeah.
And what he said was the guy forgot the other 18, 19 texts. He had totally forgotten. But when he needed me, I had texted him and he responded back and said, we got to move forward.
Absolutely.
And that's persistency. And so that leads into my next suggestion is mindset is the most important element in anything. Because if you are a mediocre real estate agent with a strong mindset, you're going to do okay. If you have a really great skill set but a weak mindset, you're not going to do as well. But if you have a strong mindset and a strong skill set, you're going to be a freaking rock star. And
Absolutely.
so at the end of the day, the enemy is not the interest rate, is not the other agents, is not your people, your clients. There's a quote from Pogo, a comic strip from like probably your parents' generation. It's like, we have met the enemy and the enemy is us.
Yep.
So it's all about what's happening between these 2 years.
Absolutely. Definitely agree with that as well. The next thing, it's so funny. I just had it on my mind. I was going to say, and then I forgot what I was going to say, but hold on. I think the next thing that you have to do is, you have to be willing to ask questions, right? So I think a lot of agents, and then this is the first thing I say when somebody joins my team and they still don't listen for the most part, is don't be afraid to come to my office and ask me a question or call me or text me or reach out. And, oh, I don't want to bother you. You're not bothering me. You're not bothering a team leader that you want to make money for the team. No problem. I'm happy to be here for you. And I think that's something that a lot of new agents do, is they're just afraid to ask questions because they don't want to sound stupid. No question's a stupid question. If you don't know the business yet, how can anybody expect you to not ask questions, right? So I really, really encourage ask questions, whether it's a manager, a team leader, a mentor you have in the office, a veteran agent. Most people are pretty kind and are going to be willing to help you out. So I think asking questions is big.
And it kind of goes back to mindset, right? It's this image we have of ourselves of, I don't want to appear weak. And I know with certainty, Lou, that if you're in a situation and you don't frickin' know something, you're going to ask someone, say, hey, help me out. And that really is about confidence and the connection with yourself. So I think absolutely 100% asking for help, critical, but asking questions, because asking questions is such a freaking powerful thing in the sales environment. By the way, Lou, do you have any kids?
I do. I have a 3-year-old and a 1.5-year-old.
So what's the name of the 1.5-year-old?
Alessia.
Alessia. And do you remember the first time you held her in your arms?
Of course. The day she was born, July 26th.
So, dear listeners, if you heard the tonality of Lou's voice change, by asking questions, I can change his brain chemistry.
Okay. You made me happier now.
Yeah, instantly. And when you're with a client, you can tell them all you want, but if you ask the right questions, you'll actually change their brain chemistry and change the way they think. Mm-hmm. So we have such awesome power in asking that. And sometimes when you're asking something, is something your client already knows, but the way you ask it, it gets them to realize it. Because oftentimes people have all these ideas in the etheric sense, and it's your job as a salesperson to ground those in our conversation to move that sales process forward.
Yeah, couldn't agree more.
Can I hear an amen? Amen.
Amen.
All right, Lou, to you, my friend.
Let's see. Okay, I think a lot of people recently, in the last couple of years, for obvious reasons, have got away from coming into the office. Right? I believe that in order to be a very successful real estate agent, you need to be in the office at some point in time during the day. Working from home, in my opinion, people differ, but I think working from home is a miserable experience that you're never going to reach your full potential working from your house. So I just had a conversation yesterday. One of my teammates here, and she came in. She's like, "What can I do differently? I feel like I hit a wall." I was like, "I'll be honest with you. I haven't seen you in about 2 weeks. So if you were here, you could have asked me the same question 2 weeks ago instead of waiting for 2 weeks to come in and ask me the question, right? And you would have fed off of the other agent's energy that's in the office. You would have heard of conversation that maybe you didn't know something and now you just learned something. So even if you don't have business drumming right now, being in the office will drum up business. People don't walk through the door anymore like they used to do back in the day, right? So you're not going to have a seller walk in and say, "I want to sell my house," but you may have a teammate here who's doing a deal on a co-op that you never heard the lingo for, or is negotiating a deal, and you picked up a new trick that they did that you can incorporate to your business. So I think being in the office, being present, and putting on your work outfit every day is important.
Absolutely. And there's something about that collaboration, that informal stuff, where you could be chit-chatting about something outside of this, and it just builds connection, it builds confidence, and it sparks ideas. Mm-hmm. So one of the things we need to do is when we're dealing with our clients is very much, what did you value most about working with me? And they're going to tell you what they valued most, which is really nice, helps in the testimonials. And let's say that what I really valued most was the way you looked after us, which is nice. It's nice to hear. But how do you describe how I looked after you to a friend? And then they go deeper. And that does two things. Number one, it lets you know your value as an agent because we have a sense of what we're doing. And sometimes it doesn't matter what we think, is what clients think. And also it gets them to articulate at a deeper level. So it helps in marketing too, because all of a sudden it's like you're actually using the language of clients that's going to resonate with other clients as well. Mm-hmm. So Lou, I'm going to give you the last piece of advice.
Okay. So this one actually, it runs deep with me because we do a lot of business on social media these days, right? So I think, every real estate agent who starts out is starting out, I'm going to open a business page. I'm going to just post pictures of kitchens and bathrooms. What I've learned over the years is that people don't really care about what house you're selling or what the kitchen looks like or anything like that whatsoever. They care about you. So I think, we're all going to market ourselves on social media. We need to do it smart. We need to do it effectively. And we need to stop marketing ourselves to the rest of the real estate brokers, because that's what we do for the most part, is we're marketing ourselves to other brokers when we should be marketing ourselves to potential clients. So I think if you could invest in a social media course or a social media coordinator or something like that, I think it makes a lot of sense to, make sure your brand is authentic and effective, across whatever platforms you're putting it on.
Brilliant. And Lou, before we leave, how about a question for me?
Yeah, this is the first time I've interacted with you.
Yes.
This is the first time we've met, obviously. How long have you been doing this?
So we're coming up to 3 years doing this podcast. And I do this podcast for two reasons. Number one is my highest value is learning stuff.
Sure.
And there's no better way than getting an expert there. And so that's useful. And the second thing is, adding value to the world.
Right.
And out of all the tips that we gave today, there's going to be agents that are going to go, oh my God, Lou, that's like freaking brilliant. I really like that. And, or it could be something that I said, or something they heard in a different way that they've just heard from a different viewpoint. And I think that just, that's one of the joys of life, is getting people to kind of drop you. I bet if someone dropped you a line saying, hey, Lou, I heard you on that podcast. That really helped me a lot. I closed the deal because of that. Would be delightful.
Absolutely. 100%.
Lou, thanks so much for being on the show. I really, really appreciate it. Enjoyed it. And 22 minutes just flew by.
Oh, there you go. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. It was a lot of fun.
If you enjoyed this episode, please go to iTunes and leave a 5-star rating. And if you're looking for more tools, go to my website at nolimitselling.com. I've got a free mind training course there that's going to teach you some insights from the world of neuro-linguistic programming, and that is the fastest way to get better results.